Hey guys, I am just going to share what's going on. It's been one unbelievably interesting month. Many life factors feeling like they're going like this. I'll start out with the amazing news, and then I'm going to share something super personal, and then kind of tell you where we are and what we have planned for you all. So, first things first. I discovered I spent a year building a product around 5-day challenges called Launch Perfect. I'm extremely proud of it. It's everything you need, A to Z, to have an unbelievable 6, potentially 7-figure challenge. It is systemized, it is templatized, it is awesome. I have case studies at the yin yang. It was really top quality. I'm very proud of it. It's my first program. I then and I sold a bunch of them, and people really liked it. And then I was like, I want to serve more people, so let me try my first group cohort. Did that, learned some incredibly valuable lessons that I didn't know until I knew, right? And so the apology behind this is I fell into a category of people of marketers who sold coaches programs that they weren't actually able yet to use. Stuff that I rant and rave about online. If you follow me on social media, I'm a big, like, why would people sell that? Blah, blah. Like, I'm loud and kind of bordering obnoxious about calling people out on something that I did, be it unintentional or not. So I got people into the program, and it is systemized, it is templatized, it is really on point. And I recognized about 2 weeks in, excuse me, and it's pretty much paint by numbers, but I recognized 2 weeks in when I had a couple people reach out and say, hey, I'm really confused. And the first 2 weeks, by the way, are how we assemble the content of the 5-day challenge. And it works directly backwards from, okay, what is the thing? What is your offer, right? What is the thing that you're going to sell at the end of your challenge? And then we reverse engineer, hey, here's how the challenge should look like backed up from that. And so I was like, how can they possibly be confused? Because my vetting process, which I thought I was doing an amazing job of, was, okay, they have to have sold X number of their high ticket programs for this to make sense. To me, that means what we call it's validated, right? Like enough people have purchased it and we should be good to go, or so I thought. And a couple other people, and then I realized that probably, I don't know, third or more people were actually probably more than that. I'd say probably half the people were in some state of confusion, which really like completely blew me away. And then I put the puzzle pieces together, and what I saw was that the people that were confused, even though they've sold a bunch of their program, almost all of them had sold those through either a warm list of people that knew them, or organically, or through referrals. And I probably don't have to tell you, but I will. It is 20 times easier to sell something to a referral or to somebody that knows you than it is to somebody who's never heard of you. And if we want to scale your business, we have to be able to sell things to people that have very limited interaction with you. So I was like, this is interesting. So I started asking people specifically, what is it that you do? And I'm not making fun of anybody or anything like that, but I was getting various answers from, well, it's really hard to explain what I do. So that's a big red flag, right? A lot of those people have what I call intangible offers. So an intangible offer is one where like the outcome might be something like confidence. It's not tied to money, so it might be confidence. It might be we solve your digestive issues. It might be manifesting. It's just basically it doesn't have, when I like my offer, my Launch Perfect offer was, it's a lot easier to sell when I say, oh, hey, it's $5,000, but you stand a really good chance of getting that investment back and multiplying it by 10, 20, 30, whatever the case might be. You can't say that with confidence. You can't say that with forgiveness. You can't say that with anything in the spiritual, like woo world, anything intangible, right? Okay, enough about that. So when I asked people what they did, and they would say, oh, it's really hard to summarize what I do because it depends on the client, which may be true, and I'm not knocking that. Or they would tell me, a story that was 5 to 10 minutes long where I was having to extract and ask multiple questions. Well, okay, well, explain that a little bit more, explain that a little bit more, explain that a little bit more. So if I'm having to extract as the coach what it is they do, and I'm super savvy with marketing, imagine somebody who doesn't know anything about marketing and doesn't know anything about offers, like your ideal prospects, all the questions that they would have that they wouldn't even know to ask. They're just listening and they're like, I'm not really following. So they were unable to sell to cold audiences, and that was the reason why. And they were also unable to build their 5-day challenge content, because if you're not clear on the outcome, the very specific outcome, it makes it impossible to reverse engineer the content leading up to that outcome, especially if that outcome is in their brains a moving target, right? So how do you create steps to a target that moves? And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Okay, super interesting, super valuable lesson for me, super valuable lesson for everyone in there. So I put that entire project on hold. Everything. I have not sold any more Launch Perfects since. So I sat down to build an entirely new high ticket program called Offer Perfect. Because here's what I found out. And there's going to be a point to all of this, and I appreciate you listening. People confuse all the time their program with their offer. And those are two different things. Your program is part of your offer, but there's two other pieces to it. There's your program, there's what we call your promise, and then there's what we call the packaging. The promise and the packaging, most people cannot articulate well or at all. They know they have this incredible expertise and they know they have this incredible program that if, I hear this all the time, if I could only get somebody into my program, I can provide them this amazing transformation. Well, here's the issue. The promise, the other two pieces of your offer, the promise and the packaging, that is 95, if not 99% of how you market and sell. If those things aren't clear, you're going to have a very, very, very hard time selling your program. So I've set aside everything and I built this thing called Offer Perfect. I'm extremely happy with it. And had a group go through that. And what we did was got really, really clear, and we use a visual framework, and I help people literally build their offer around a visual framework, so that if a cold person gets on a conversation with them, somebody who's never heard of them, and they show them this framework, they can walk a cold person who's never heard of them through this framework in less than 5 minutes and have that person go, oh, that totally makes sense. How do I work with you? That's the whole goal. And then there's the packaging piece, which I won't even go into. That was a long rabbit hole that I just went down about, why I'm apologizing, because I recognize that I'm not exaggerating. I feel like 9 out of 10 people that come to me to do a challenge need help with their offer first. Then when they're crystal clear on that, then they can launch it and do an extremely successful challenge. That's apology number 1. I just didn't know what I didn't know. I figured it out. I fixed it. And I'm extremely excited about all of the stuff, all the people that went through the first round and what their visual frameworks look like. And we had massive ahas and people that are like, I've been trying to do this thing for 2 years and haven't sold one. And then she just started talking about it differently through the Offer Perfect program. And she's like, I wasn't even trying to sell it. And this person was like, I need that. I want to buy that. That's the kind of thing we're talking about. So Offer Perfect's promise is I want to help you create a quote unquote no fail offer that practically sells itself. So it's so clean and clear that people go, oh my God, that makes perfect sense. What does it look like to work with you? That's piece one. Once I realized how people were having these massive ahas and able to sell so much easier, and so with so much less explaining, I was like, okay, this is going to be big. Like people desperately need this. There's a massive gap in the marketing industry because there's a gajillion people like I used to be with the 5-day challenge thing, right? There's a bajillion people teaching ways to market, but they aren't teaching people that if you don't have your offer dialed in yet, that's the huge lever. So when you sign up for my challenge program or you sign up for anybody's anything that has to do with like getting clients and marketing, if you don't have the offer piece, it's not going to work. Like there's literally no marketing mechanism out there that will work for you if you don't have your offer clear. But the opposite is also true. When your offer is completely dialed in, clean and clear in your packaging, you can use any marketing mechanism you want. Like this is literally the foundational elements of your entire business. When I talk to people on the phone, I say you have to understand that the offer, that the three pieces of your offer, your program, your promise, and your packaging, your offer is the sun, the S-U-N, of your entire business universe. Everything emanates from it. Whether you want to do a challenge, whether you want to do emails, your messaging, organic post, everything comes from your offer. And the problem, like I said, is people aren't clear on that. So they're like, I don't understand why people aren't responding. I'm writing these posts, but people aren't responding. I tried this challenge, people aren't responding. I tried this, I tried that. It's because they don't have crystal clarity around that offer piece. I'm going to solve that. Again, not the point of this video. It's literally context and setting up why I'm shooting this video. So I've been building what I think is a super cool funnel. Alicia and I have been working our tails off, my VA. We have a upgraded offer scorecard, so people will fill it out. They'll find out exactly where the leaks are in their offer. Depending on what score they have, I have 5 very specific trainings just for them. And then I have a fix your offer fast phone call. So we're super excited about it. It's very personalized. It's very specific. It has been a gargantuan amount of work, a gargantuan amount of shooting videos. The biggest project I've ever taken on, hands down. But I know it's gonna, without sounding corny, revolutionize a lot of businesses. Like I'm telling you, it's the missing link that nobody's really addressing. Then I had to pause for a minute. 2.5 weeks ago. Sorry, time has become a huge blur. My stepdad needed surgery, so I went up to Maryland, 8 hours away by car, to take care of them. My mom basically couldn't do that, so we went up there. It went really well. It was a prostate removal. It went as exceptionally as well as it possibly could, but as you can imagine, my parents in their 70s were extremely nervous. I went up there. It's in the childhood home. It's literally the home I grew up in, so it's, got a lot of weird memories. And 2 hours after my stepfather got home, we literally got him home. Not to be gross, but literally has a catheter and a bag of pee strapped to his leg, because that's what you have to do for, I think it's a week. He was home for 2 hours, and then we get a call that my sister had been admitted to the hospital, which was not wildly unexpected, because she's been admitted to the hospital probably, I think, 4 times in the last year for various things, shattering her elbow, falling down half a flight of steps, head injuries, body shutting down. To put it super unceremoniously, she's a chronic alcoholic and has really bad cirrhosis of the liver, and her body just literally was eating her up from the inside and shutting down. The problem was my parents and I have had so many phone calls, lies, half-truths. We don't know what to believe anymore, because this has been going on for a very long time. I mean, obviously, anybody that's had any experience with addiction themselves or in the family, they call it a progressive disease. It gets worse and worse. And there just comes time, it's a roller coaster where you're like, you're trying to help, and then you recognize through gritted teeth that you're enabling. So then you're trying to be like, put up strong boundaries and not help somebody that you know needs help. And, we had to, and she was inflicting so much vitriol and trauma at my mom on a daily basis. My mom would have minimum one per day, uncontrollable wailing sobs, which my stepdad dealt with every single day for multiple years. And so I would go over there to stay with them, and I would just be hearing it I'd be trying to do work downstairs in the basement and hear my mom, and it's intense. It's intense. Because you're also trying to, keep the boundary up, right? Let the person just do whatever they're going to be, or do whatever they're going to, you can't. We helped every single possible way that we could. We just had to stop. And so when we got that call, we were like, oh God, okay, here we go again. My sister had taken all of us off of emergency contacts. She removed my parents from any HIPAA information. So any information that we got was filtered through my sister, who omitted whatever she wanted to, exaggerated whatever she felt like she should, and never once admitted she had a problem ever. Never to her, ever. Even with the last 3 times in the hospital saying, we highly recommend you go to rehab. We can literally roll you to another floor of the hospital, and she refused. So she was in the hospital this time, 2 hours after my stepdad got home from surgery, and we're like, oh my God, what? So I'm trying to carry on business, right? Which is a lot when you got a family member like that and trying to take care of your dad. So I'm downstairs and I'm talking with clients and helping customers and meeting with Alicia and putting the final touches on this thing that I'm so immensely proud of, and shooting videos and trying to compartmentalize. Oh, hey, this video is going to be awesome. This is what we're talking about. It's going to change your life. And your sister, and at this point, I don't know what's happening with her. So I think it was Friday, a week ago today. It was a week ago today. The hospital called my parents again. The hospital called Wednesday to say she'd been admitted, but they weren't allowed to say anything because everyone had been removed from contacts, which we thought, well, why are you calling? That's weird. But obviously they could tell something was really, really wrong. And so Friday, I came back. I had a client meeting, 15 minutes. And I said, have you heard anything about Liza? That's my sister. And my stepdad looks at my mom, and they look at me, and he says, the hospital called, and she has 2 weeks to 2 months to live. And so I can still freaking remember the tunnel vision I saw on that, which is a trauma response, by the way. And I was like, okay, hold on, let the tunnel vision, don't get sucked in there, hold on. Okay, now what? And I'm getting on a call in 15 minutes, literally with a client. So that's a lot to juggle, right? That's a lot to handle. Life goes on. You have to stay involved in your business, and you have to handle family stuff, right? As it comes up. That's life. And it sucks sometimes when those two things converge. So I said, well, I was supposed to fly back in a couple days. I said, well, we have to go see her because I want to go say hi. I want to check on her. I want to see what the deal is. I'm going to go back to Asheville, and then I'm going to regroup, get my shit together, come back up. And so we called in the morning and they said, oh, she's been transferred a couple hours away to a place with a hematologist to see if she's a candidate for a liver transplant. But that doctor said that's protocol. I'm letting you guys know that if somebody has on their record that they were told to go to rehab 3 times and they refused, that it's going to be highly unlikely they're a candidate. And even if they are a candidate, they have to be sober for, I think she said 60 days. And he's like, she's not going to make it 60 days. So we're just like, what? Processing a lot. And yeah, it was a lot. And so we drove 2.5, or I guess it was 2 hours to Richmond, Virginia, to VCU hospital. And we walk in there and my sister is, there's like 8 doctors around the bed. And I'm like, this is not good. This is definitely not good. So I go in and I see her and she's completely emaciated. She's 5'9.5". I think she was a little over 100 pounds. Yellow color of jaundice that you can't even describe. I don't even know how to describe. But when you see a human being yellow, it's extremely disturbing. And the emaciatedness and wires everywhere. And her, like, I just remember like opening her eyes like for a second. And like she might see somebody and I'd see her look up and it seemed like she was trying to like, who is that? Whether it was a doctor or whatever. And vital signs and everything. And it was not good. It was not good. I was like, okay, wow, this is something. And then they basically said, okay, we're going to treat her for a few hours. At 4 o'clock, we're going to, pulmonary specialist is going to come in. Her body was shutting down and they had multiple things that they needed to treat. And the way that it was explained to me was, the different treatments were at odds with one another. So one treatment would actually make one other thing that they needed to treat worse. And there were multiple versions of that. So there was water inside the lungs and water outside the lungs. And they said, we'll know at 4 when the pulmonary guy comes, if it's possible, if they can remove the water on the outside of the lungs without creating more water inside the lungs. I think that was noon. And it was within an hour that they basically said, hey, we're moving her into ICU. They cannot do the surgery or the water extraction. I was like, okay, that doesn't sound good either. So they move her into ICU. She can't really talk at all. She just can't. She's incommunicative. Like I said, her eyes were kind of darting around, but they also had her on some fentanyl and like all these other things, just basically trying to keep her stable. And I should tell you that I haven't talked to her in 2 years because of all the alcoholism stuff. So this was like, it was a lot to see her like that. And we were super close growing up. Super close to our 20s. And so I was like, oh wow, she's in ICU, okay. And then right after we got to ICU, one of the head nurses pulled my parents and I into the room and were basically like, what sort of power of attorney do you have? Which is never a good sign. And like, what's the directive and all that stuff. So having to hear my mom, basically say she doesn't want, that my sister didn't want any kind of, what they call them extreme measures, but it's basically keeping you alive, resuscitation and whatever cardiac stuff. So that was super, super intense. We didn't know it was going to be that bad, so nobody was prepared to spend the night. My parents and my mom went back. I spent the night in the ICU. You can imagine not getting a whole lot of sleep, and they basically said, okay, here's what's going to happen. We are going to try to keep her stable until tomorrow, until you can have people come see her. And but we're going to treat her as though it's palliative. So that means if something happened in the ICU, they wouldn't try to resuscitate. They wouldn't try to do much. So we were like, what? Whoa, hold on, hang on, what? Like an hour ago, you said they were going to see if they could remove the water from her lungs, and now you're telling her, now you're telling us that there's basically no way she's going to make it. So it all happened super fast. And so now I'm calling my mom, my dad, who I'm pretty estranged to, very estranged to, his wife, his 2 kids, my sister's best friend from growing up, our next door neighbor, her 2 best friends from college, her best friend from high school, my wife. I think that was it. And I'm like, I think tomorrow's it. I don't know that she'll make it. She might not make it through tonight, but I think tomorrow's it. They're going to try to keep her alive until tomorrow. Just keep her stable, I should say. It's very weird, the nuances that they talk about, right? So there's no extreme measures, then there's keeping her stable, then there's like removing even like the basic oxygen and stuff. So I spent the night there. It was hardly any sleep, as you can imagine. I keep sheet. I thought I saw her like look over at me a couple times, but you can't tell if she's looking over or if she heard a beep from one of the machines. By the way, there were so many machines, and like when one was out of juice or something happened here or there, you'd hear, you know, the alarm bells of that particular machine go off, and each time you're like jolted awake thinking that's, you know, heart attack or whatever. I mean, it's, you don't sleep is basically what I'm trying to say. And so I'm getting certified in this trauma healing because I want to bring that into my business coaching, so that if people get stuck and are unable to make progress or feel overwhelmed or imposter syndrome, whatever the case might be, I want to be able to have something hands-on to help them. And I'm almost finished, and I'm like, okay, she can't hear me consciously anyway. I'm going to do this trauma healing thing. Maybe lessen her pain, maybe it'll do anything, right? And then of course I got I'm going to try not to cry. It's going to be really freaking hard. Maybe like this would be some miracle thing, right? Maybe she would somehow miraculously heal from this thing. So I did that. She fell asleep. And then when we woke up in the morning, I thought, maybe she got a decent night of sleep or whatever. And I went over to her. That was Thursday morning. And I went over and I said, Liza. She made eye contact. I said, hi. Just like that. Hi. She looked and she goes, hi. And she looked away. I was like, okay, I'm 99.9%. Like, I said, it's your brother. And hi. She said hi. And then I made her look again. I was like, Liza. I said, you have to hold on. Your son, she got a 13-year-old son. I said, Alex is coming in a few hours. You have to hold on. And she just nodded a little bit, and then she fell back. I was like, okay. At that time, I didn't know that hi was going to be the very last thing that she ever said. So that was something super intense. And different friends came to see. Her son came. That was crazy intense. Her ex-husband, who still loved her, was with him the whole time. My parents came back. Her friends came, and then they moved her into a palliative care room that afternoon. And then basically My half brother and sister came. My dad came. My dad and mom had seen each other 3 times since their divorce. My sister's wedding, my grandfather's funeral, my sister's wedding, and my wedding. They didn't talk. It was not a good, it's not a good marriage. And so my dad gave my mom a hug, and like an extended hug, didn't even say anything. So that was like another whole like, what the hell, this is intense, this is happening. And I'm like shuttling people in and out, right? Which I later found out it's a coping mechanism. So I basically took on the role of like host, tour guide, telling people what to expect, walking them in there, walking them out, meeting them at the door of the hospital, like all that shit. So everyone basically said goodbye Thursday. I didn't think she was even going to make it Thursday. And then Friday, my wife came up. She was there Thursday, but we got a hotel room with my half brother. And I was like, we got to get up. I can't, like, I was worried she was going to pass away when we weren't there. And then, we got back at 6 a.m. or something. And then we were there 11 hours. She was barely breathing. I'm like, I can't believe she's still here. Even the nurses who aren't supposed to say stuff like that were like, yeah, I'm really surprised too. And I was like, Liz, you got an hour. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to be here, and felt horribly guilty. And I said, you got till 6. I was like, you can go. Everything's fine. You're going to be safe. Everything's fine. And she still didn't go. And I felt horrifically guilty. Wailing tears, as you can imagine. And I back out of the room, and I'm like, that's just crazy. This is so crazy. And by the way, this entire time between the surgery and my sister's palliative care, Alicia and Aya are in the background, like running everything they can in my business for me, like rock star champs. And I'm like trying to answer the occasional Slack or the email or whatever the case might be, just to keep going. And so we started to drive home, and then I got the call at 12:03 a.m. and I knew what it was, and it was the nurse confirming that my sister had passed away. Her friend, in the meantime, called me and said, would it be okay if I was there with her, because I can't stand her being alone. I said, God, please go back there. The picture of my sister with somebody versus nobody was, for me, life-changing. So she went. I called her immediately after, and she said, I was there with her. I was holding her hand. I was playing her some of her favorite songs. I felt a little twitch. I looked down. I said, I think she's passed. And the nurse bent over, confirmed the vitals were gone. So my sister actually passed away at the end of a Hall & Oates song called Sarah Smiles. My sister's first name is Sarah. So she used to sing that all the time, and it was 12:01 on Friday. Why she hung on till Friday, we'll never know. Why she didn't want to let go in front of me, I'll never know. And so it's been a week today, and I've been back and grieving like a crazy person, right? So like uncontrollable, out of nowhere sobs. And I was at the gym trying to get a semblance of normality. I'm sitting there doing barbell curls and crying, and then I start laughing because the absurdity of this grown man crying in the gym lifting weights was a lot and absurd, and you have to laugh. So that's 34 minutes and 42 seconds to give you context for where we are now. So I have this crazy stuff that I've been processing and dealing with, and in the background trying to put the finishing touches on something that I'm immensely proud of, that's going to have a profound change in the world for all coaches. And I know that sounds grandiose, but I completely believe that. And wanting to launch this thing and knowing I haven't talked to any of my email list in months because of the being consumed building the product, dealing with my family, my dad, and then my sister. So we're attempting to start recommunicating with everyone, giving everybody as much value as we can. And I felt like yesterday, Alicia and I were talking, and it's like, I got to write an email. Like, I got to tell people what's happening in my life. And we got to tell people that this offer is coming out. But if I do that simultaneously, that could be perceived as the grossest thing in the world, where I'm like sharing my sister's passing and then pitching. I'm not even pitching. I'm about to tell you, putting stuff out there that we've been working on forever. So it's just really, really messy, convoluted. I wrote like 3 versions of an email yesterday, and then Alicia slacks me at 10:30. She's like, I don't think you can talk about your sister at all. It's gonna seem, she goes, I know 110% you're not using that to sell anything, but I think any mention of it could be perceived that way, like these people don't know you. A lot of these people on your list don't know you, and it'll have a super high yuck factor. And I'm like, I was like, you're right. That's true. That sucks, because I pride myself on sharing everything. I'm very open. I'm very honest. I'm very transparent. And so what the absolute truth is this sucks beyond words. My sister, and I'm having to put one foot in front of the other as best as a human being can do to move my business forward and let you guys know what's happening on the business side that actually matters to you. So we had this whole conversation. I was like, well, I really like hearing from people that I follow in respect. Like, I like hearing what's in their life. I know I want to know who I'm buying from, basically, who I'm working with. But it is a weird balance, right? It's like, how much can you share and then write words of by the way, we have this new thing coming out. So it's really confusing, messy, weird, doesn't make any sense, doesn't feel particularly it feels right to me, because this is everything that's going on. Like, my sister's passed away. It's very hard. And I have this stuff that I'm excited about. But how do you write that so it doesn't come off gross? Can you? I don't know. I couldn't do it. But I also I can't not address what's happening in my personal life. Because to me, whether you guys care or not, I'm not saying that people don't care about my sister passing, but there's that thing in the marketing space, is like your list, the people that follow you, they only care about what you're able to do for them. And I get that. And I want to hear about people, and this is what's happening with me. So what I'm trying to say is you're getting both, because I don't know how else to do it. I can't just put these offers out and not address it, because I'll feel like I'm being completely fake and inauthentic. I'll feel like I'm ignoring real shit that's happening in my life. I'll feel like I'm being dishonest. I'll feel like I'm not being myself. And I can't sit there and tell people, all you have to do is be yourself and be smart in articulating what you do, and people will want to work with you. So how can I not do what I preach to other people to do? I can't. And I'm going to share myself and make an offer. And people, so there'll probably be some people that think it's horrible. That's okay. I just have to be okay with that being okay. So we have this offer perfect thing. I'm going to let people, I told people I would let them know when the price is going up. And the only people that are getting this offer are on my list. You're going to get it for the founding offers price. After this funnel goes live, it'll never be that price again. It'll be almost twice that. Alicia in the background has built out some unbelievable. Oh, I also created something else, a splinter offer for people that aren't sure yet if they want to do a high ticket, or they have questions about how to put together a high ticket, or they have questions about messaging. I put together 2 resources I have into one like kind of combo package. It's called High Ticket Mastery and the Ultimate Messaging Bible, and it's basically the groundwork that you would need if you ever wanted to do Offer Perfect, and it's basically the most important work you have to do before you start working on your offer. And it gives you also, the High Ticket Mastery actually gives you context of like, oh, this is what the journey I need to take somebody on if I'm going to create a high ticket offer. And Alicia has been busy. She's an incredible integrator on her own, unasked for by me, because she's a rock star. She's like, I'm going to work on something, a really cool offer for your people that you don't have to have any involvement in. And she's an integrator, and she loves systems, and she loves templates, and she loves processes. So we're putting together some unbelievable, cool email sequences that we actually looked all around and couldn't find, that I'm really excited about. She showed them to me yesterday, and I was like, started crying. First off, that this person would do this for me. And secondly, I was like, this is really, really valuable. This is really cool. So we have a bunch of stuff coming out your way. Yeah. It's cool. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to be shocked if anybody makes it to the end of this video. I did not intend to talk but 5 minutes, but that's everything that's on my heart. That's everything that's going on in my life. And grieving is going to be whatever grieving is going to be. Life moves on, however life moves on. And what, speed you can recover. I don't know if you ever recover, but I do feel so much gratitude for Alicia, my team, for this entire process, for everybody that has come onto my list, that have actually enrolled in my programs. I feel like I'm some level of friendship with them. So I'm just blown away at this thing called life. I can't wait to help you guys out. I can't wait to feel some relief from this grief, and move forward in a way that like I can really make a difference in the world. I appreciate you guys.